What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and today we're talking about ESTUARINE and their new self-released EP, Nyarlathotep. And hey, if you like to be kept up to date with the best and brightest metal bands and albums from the underground and above, then stick with me by hitting that subscribe button down below. ESTUARINE is a one-man experimental technical Blackened Deathgrind project based out of Tampa, Florida. Vocalist and multi-instrumentalist Hydrus first dropped a debut self-titled album in 2013, with myself taking notice years later with 2018's excellent Sic Erat Scriptum and the follow-up EP Wisdom Of Silenus in 2019 to much praise in the underground. Nyarlathotep sees ESTUARINE only further tighten the project's sound with its very focused 10-minute runtime, creating one seamless piece of music broken into 8 brief movements. A concept album loosely based on H.P. Lovecraft's short story detailing the return of Nyarlathotep, the mediator between man and God who is responsible for Earth's chaos. And despite the length, Hydrus hasn't skimped on a single element that made the project great to begin with. I mean, just take a track like Prophecy Denial, for example. While clocking in at only 30 seconds, it's an incredibly dense track with tons of little blink and you'll miss it moments, from the usual contorted acrobatics of the guitars to the quick little flourish of what sounds like marimba at the 9-second mark. It would be really easy for a passive listener to look at these 10 minutes as just another drop in the bucket for Grindcore, but it's these special little touches and overall attention to detail that makes the album so much more than that. Then we have the longer tracks like the 1 minute and 27-second Hooves of Oblivion, which is one of my personal favorites. One part a rumbling, spiraling cyclone that genuinely does sound like an interdimensional stampede of hooves, the other a chugging, almost android-like bit of experimental technical death metal. This one again covers a ridiculous amount of ground in a short amount of time. I can't tell you how many times I had to rewind this track because by the time I was done writing a note, it would already be over. There's also the 58-second Broken Subordinates, which opens with a great little spooky bit of ambience before transitioning quickly through a bouncing little intro, and then straight into a dizzying gauntlet of mathy time changes. I gave myself a headache trying to properly count this one out, but really all you need to know is that it's another impressive display of Hydrus' amazing capabilities on all instruments, while still crafting a track that is genuinely memorable and engaging. And of course we have closing track Plains of Rotting Creation, which is the longest track at, are you ready for this? 3 whole minutes! Move over, Opeth, we've got a real progressive badass up in here.
Oh, I'm just sitting here contemplating how Tool and A Perfect Circle are the most complex and sophisticated bands in history.
But in all seriousness, this is the perfect way to close out the brief proceedings, with some doomier, more atmospheric sections to break up the blasts of vitriolic venom. The end of this one really does conjure imagery of some unholy Lovecraftian cult ritual. And yeah, I think to say much more might spoil too much, so I think a short and concise review for a short album makes sense on this one. Again, don't let its length fool you. ESTUARINE has proven itself as a master of composition in the past, and this one is no different. I give it a 10 for enjoyability. It's almost cheating to talk about how engaging this album is, given that you don't really have the opportunity to get bored. But there you have it. I give it a 10 for musicianship. Once again, Hydrus proves himself to be an absolute monster, from the highly technical guitars and drumming to his sickening black and death metal snarls. And I give it an 8 for innovation. I can think of a few other bands playing with this style, but for the most part, ESTUARINE bring a pretty unique experience to grind that puts a nice little spin on the foundational elements. So a 9.3 and a solid A for ESTUARINE and Nyarlathotep. Get it now from the band on Bandcamp and wherever else you consume your music. Y'all, thanks as always for watching, and also fuck you, Hydrus, for naming this album Nyarlathotep. I can't tell you how many retakes I had to do to get that pronunciation down. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, what did you think of this album? What's your favorite kind of weird, like, Blackened grind experimental project out there? And hey, stick around because I got plenty more videos coming right after this one. More album reviews, interviews with bands on the podcast, tier lists, you name it, we've got it. So plenty of reasons to subscribe if you have not already. Also chat with us on Discord and support on Patreon. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.